are watching a Make It Monday. Welcome! We're going to make a really cute Halloween card with the Cauldron Bubble stamp set and Thinlits. So here's what the card looks like, and it's extremely cute. I think you're going to love it. I will tell you, I made this card up this morning. I was just kind of scrambling because I knew how much you looked forward to my Make It Monday, so I didn't want to disappoint you by not coming on today. Although I tell you, it was a near thing. And so one thing I decided to do was to use my framelits that come with the Cauldron Bubble Bundle to cut out from the designer series paper, because then I didn't have to color anything. I could just cut out the designer series paper with the framelits and it worked perfect. So I love that designer series paper just because it can make such a quick card. So let's go ahead and flip this camera down so that you can see everything that we're doing today. So let me hold the card up real close so you can get a good idea of what it looks like. You'll see that we are using the black foil paper from Stampin' Up, and that's one of my favorites. I always loved using this real glossy black cardstock, and I don't know that Stampin' Up has ever carried it before, so I'm excited to have it in our line, at least through the holidays here. And then you'll also see that I use the framelits to cut out, and believe it or not, we have a Spooky Bats punch that also cuts out. I mean, you just punch out these little bats like nothing doing. It's wonderful. So let me give you a peek at the catalog here so you can see what the suite looks like. Let's see, it's called the Toil Trouble suite, and this is the stamp set, and you can purchase it with the Cauldron framelit dies and save 10% if you get the bundle, or you can just purchase individually if you wish. And of course, I mentioned we're going to be using those spider trinkets that are, actually I'm not a big fan of spiders, but these are pretty adorable, I have to admit. And what else are we using from this suite? Oh yes, the black foil sheets, which are fabulous. They're really glossy and they're awesome. All right, so here's the designer series paper called Toil Trouble. And we have a die for this, but it's not for everyone. I want to make sure that you're prepared, because I kind of thought maybe I could just use this die to cut out all of these cute little guys, or I should say gals. But that is not the case. It only cuts out one style of little witch. And so let me show you that style. I have it already set up in my Big Shot. It only cuts out this one. And so if you kind of look all through this 12 by 12 sheet and you don't want to cut her feet off, because there's two down here at the bottom, but her feet are a little bit cut off. If you don't want to have any cut off feet, you actually only get 3 full cutouts per sheet. But you know what? I know a lot of you also like to just fussy cut, so these would be, you know, something to do while you're sitting on the couch watching TV. Just fussy cut those out so you can get pretty close to the same results. But if you are wanting to use framelits, of course you have the little gal in the stamp set, but that would require that you color her, whereas when you cut it out from the designer series paper, boom, your coloring is done, and I love that. Love that. Another piece that we're going to use, let me just share with you. We're going to use these little ghosties on the inside, and then we're going to use this gorgeous grape color here on the outside. On the other side, we have these little brooms, cute little backdrop paper, and then we have our little cauldrons, and you can cut those out. There's like 20 of those per sheet. Now, if you're aiming to cut out a little kitty, there's, I think, only 8 kitties per sheet. And I did have to put a kitty on my card because we're big cat lovers in this family. I want to show you the inside panel. Here it is. There's a little kitty down there. Isn't it sweet? And it's not scary at all. It's so much fun. And then I was going to show you too. So I cut out these two at the same time. This cauldron and this kitty can be cut out at the same time. So I'll show you what that looks like. Just like that. Have it ready to go for showing you how to do all of this. Here's the framelits, all the different pieces, and I had one demonstrator tell me yesterday that she ordered this whole bundle because she was in love with the spider web. And I have to say, it is a very cute spider web, and I've seen it all over the place. It adorns treat boxes just adorably, and of course it looks cute tucked up in the corner of your Halloween cards. So pretty fun. And then look at all these itty bitty little stars that you get with this Framelit set, and they look like this. They're just all on this little metal piece, and when you run it through, you get 7 little stars. And I will tell you, they are super tiny. So that is where your little pick-a tool comes in really, really handy for picking those up and putting a little dot of glue on it and putting it down. All right, so let's go ahead and get started making this card. Oh, I didn't even get through all the designer paper yet. I wanted to show you what else you can cut out. So we talked about that one. Look at that fun lemon lime twist. And the hats. Yes, there is a framelit that matches the hats. Not every hat. It has to be the one that's, you know, actually on there the right way. Oh my gosh, I think it is every hat. Oh yes, it is. That's great. So there's tons and tons of hats that you can cut out with the framelit. That's a relief. And then look at these cute little froggies. Oh my gosh, adorable. And then, like I mentioned, these bats can be cut out with the spooky bat punch. And then look at that fabulous night sky with those bright crushed curry stars. Love it. All right, so I'm going to set this all aside. Well, maybe I might leave my card in place so that we can remember here what we're doing. And I will share with you, I have a few things prepped because we're going to make 2 cards. So I did pre-cut, and then I also shared with you that I had some of these already run through my Big Shot. So the layering is my magnetic platform, and then of course my cut plate, and then I had my dies on there, and you'll get a little cauldron, a little kitty, so cute, and then another little girl that we're going to be putting on our card. So nice. Okay, let me get this out of the way. And now we need our bats because we have 2 on the front and we have 1 on the inside. So let me show you the bat punch. Looks like this. And we are going to punch that out. So let me grab my bat paper. So I just have a strip of paper here. And I'll tell you what, it's a little mind-boggling when you first do it because it's kind of hard to figure out how to line it up. But once you kind of have done a few, your eyes just sort of spot it and you can figure out what you're doing. So I'm taking a little bit of time here to get it lined up properly. I think that looks pretty good. And there we have our 3 bats punched out just like that. Now the bat punch is actually a part of a different bundle. I'll see if I can find it in the catalog. But, you know, can you imagine how cool it would look to punch bats out with this glossy black paper? I think I need to try that. But let me show you. The bat punch is actually part of the Spooky Sweets bundle. So here you go. It's right here. And then it coordinates with this stamp set right here. So you can actually stamp your bats, or if you happen to have the Toil and Trouble Designer Series paper, you can use that as well. So very fun. All right, so let's go ahead and get all this going. Okay, so the card, we're using basic gray paper. This is 5.5 by 8.5, and then I've scored it at 4 1/4 and just used my bone folder and folded it in half, so I have a standard looking card. All right, so I did this for 2 pieces of paper since we are making 2 cards. Then I have a strip of this gorgeous grape, kind of a combo paper here, a darker color and a lighter color. Just love it. This is 1.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So we are just going to glue this along the left side of the paper. So I'm using my multi-purpose liquid glue and just putting kind of a rectangle of glue on here, and then we'll just set this in and we'll just sort of wiggle it into place. Let me do a little bit of wiggling here. That looks good. And then we're going to do the same thing to this side. and then we'll just wiggle it into place. That's why I love using glue, because I can just kind of wiggle it and make sure it's where it needs to be before it's all dried in. Looks good. Then we have our glossy paper that we're going to put down. Uh-oh. I just got a little bit of glue on my glossy paper, so I need to make sure that I get that glue maybe somewhere where it's going to be hidden, but I don't know where that will be. Hold on, maybe it'll be hidden by the spider. Nope. So maybe I'll put it this way. That might work. Okay, so be careful if you're using glue. I know a lot of you have a love-hate relationship with glue, as I have mostly a love relationship with glue, but I know a lot of people struggle with it. And right here, I got a little smear of glue, which kind of bugs me, but honestly, there's not that much I can do about it. So we're just gonna move on. And I don't think it's gonna show up in the card because I'm going to angle this so you won't see it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little multi-purpose liquid glue on the back here. We're gonna set this in so that the bottom kind of juts over maybe a ½ inch, or not quite a ½ inch over here. And then we want it so that it is even between this spot and this spot as far as how far out it is. And that looks really good to me. So I'm going to flip it over and burnish it, because once it's burnished, it stays on pretty good. So here it is. And then the next one, which looks nice and clean, no glue marks on it. Put a little line of glue around it, and we're going to put it at the same angle. So we're angling it a little bit to the left, and we're putting it in and making sure that this top piece and this bottom piece are the same distance from the edges. And then I like the way that looks, so I'm going to flip it over and burnish it from the back. And there we go. So now I think what we need to do is our stamping for this card. So we have a couple of panels here that are going to be stamped. We have our inside panels, and this is just Whisper White paper that's 4 by 5 1/4 inches. So that's your standard panel size. And then we have our outside panel, which is 2 by 4 1/4 inches. And this is what we're going to stamp Bubble Bubble, Toil, and Trouble. And so just because I wanted to do this fairly quickly, we are going to use the Stamparatus, and I have it already set up. We'll do the inside panels first. And as you may have heard me talk about, let's see. Nope, I have it at my other counter, so I'm not going to jump up and get it. But one thing that's nice is any clear mount case will do. So I'm going to use the Cauldron Bubble stamp set. I'm going to set this over here on the left-hand side so that when I open up the Stamparatus panel, it gives me a nice even area for me to ink. And the ink that we're going to use is StazOn. So I don't really want to get StazOn onto this glass panel. Or it's not glass, it's kind of like an acrylic piece, but I don't want StazOn on it. So it's very helpful if you have this clear mount stamp set, or I usually have a chamois in there because I like to keep my chamois handy, but as of right now, it's not very handy. So then we're going to take our panels of Whisper White. We're going to set these here in the corner, and I do need to grab a magnet from the back. I only use one magnet at a time, and so that way I don't accidentally get them, you know, where they're magnetizing together and breaking. All right, so we have our Happy Halloween, and I have this set up so I know it's going to stamp just where I want it. And there's one, and then we're going to do the other one right away. And you might notice I also am using my Stampin' Storage magnetic mat that I purchased, again, from Stampin' Storage. It's very reasonable. I think it's like $8. But I got it because it sort of lifts it just enough so that I don't need to do all those crazy layers that I was doing before. So there we go. We have our Happy Halloween done on both for the inside panel. And now let's do our outside panels, which are 2 by 4 1/2. So I have that stamp set up too, so I'm just going to flip that over. And again, I just layer them on top of each other just because it's a little bit quicker. And then we're going to ink it up with Stays On. And we're going to bring it down. And again, I have this exactly where I want it. So it's really nice for doing multiples. And we'll ink it up one more time. And there we go. All right, I'm going to set this out of the way. And now we're going to continue on making this card. So let's just finish up the inside here because that's just so quick and easy to do. And what I'm going to do next is grab this little silicone craft sheet from Stampin' Up! And I'm going to use Snail. And I'm going to do all of my, I mean, I could use glue too, but I'm just going to use Snail. So we're going to put the little kitty down here in the bottom left. And here's another little kitty. And I'm using Snail because I wanted to show you this craft sheet first of all. So I know a lot of you don't care to use glue, so I want to give you some other things that you can use. But you don't want your snail kind of, you know, drifting between the two spots. So what's really nice about this craft sheet is the snail doesn't stick to it, which is super awesome. So now for our inside panels, we also need to take another couple strips of this purpley striped paper. And this is 1 by 4.5. And what I'm going to do is just stack them up on top of each other. I'm going to grab the triple banner punch. Let me get this out of the way. We're going to set both of these in here because the paper is pretty lightweight, so we can just punch this out right away. The triple banner punch is something you can find in our annual catalog, and you can punch banner shapes at 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2 inches. So this is a pretty handy little tool. I use it quite often just because then you don't have to fuss around with the scissors. And then sometimes when you're fussing around with the scissors, you know how that goes. You just keep going and going and going until suddenly your 4-inch banner is about 2.5 inches because you just keep trying to fix it. All right, so here we go. We've got our little banners here on the side. Just looks so cute. And then we need our little bat. So again, we're going back to this area, and I'm going to get the smaller bat. So here's one small one, and there should be one more. Here it is. And again, I'm just going to take my snail on my craft sheet, and we'll flip this over. And because we're doing white on white, so like the designer series paper, it's on a white sheet. So you won't really notice that there's a white outline to this bat because it's just going to blend in with this white panel. There it is. There's one. Let me grab the other one, which must be under here, and we'll finish this up. And then our inside panels are complete. So let's go ahead and get those in before I lose them. So we're going to flip those over. Now what we need to do is finish up our little panels here for the outside of the card. So I have these kind of ready to go here. So again, I'm going to bring my silicone mat in here. I'm going to put this here so you can see it better because white on white is kind of hard to see. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bat on. We'll just do one at a time. So I'm going to flip this over, and we are going to put the bigger of the two bats up here. And you know, I should not have done that because I didn't want sticky on the back of this wing because I am going to be putting this on dimensionals, and I don't want this wing sticking, you know, to our glossy paper down there. So if that ever happens to you, if you've put your adhesive out or onto something and you don't want it to be sticky, your Embossing Buddy to the rescue. So I have this on my desk just for sticky situations like this. I mean, I actually probably use it more for this than I actually do for embossing, because my basement is not very humid, so I really don't have a trouble with my embossing powder sticking, but I don't want this to stick. So I just take the Embossing Buddy and I just put it back here, and now there is absolutely no stick left to it. So that's something you can do if you ever find out that you get you know, some sticky on something that you didn't want sticky on. It's a good way to just mat that out. All right, so let's keep going here. So we're gonna add the other bat, and I'm gonna pay attention. So I just want the sticky on this side. So I'm paying attention now. It isn't gonna happen again, or at least it won't happen again while I'm making this card, because now I'm highly aware of it. So we'll put this little guy here. And as long as we're doing bats, we're just gonna go ahead and keep going. So I've got it all, you know, figured out. So we have our bats on. Now we just have to put our gal on. So I am going to, again, we only want the snail on this side of her figure. So I'm gonna flip it over and I'll put the snail on, and I'm only putting it on her right side. And I'm just gonna make sure I don't have any snail showing through here. And then we want her little leg to be kind of sticking out a little bit. And so that looks good. So it's good kind of to have some of your image going off your frame. I think it just adds so much more motion to your card when things are sort of jutting out in different areas. So here's the cauldron. I think I'll just put the snail directly. And again, we're gonna have the cauldron kind of, you know, a little bit more to the side here. And this is all ready for dimensionals. So let me flip it over and we'll start adding some dimensionals to the back. All right, so as you can see, there's just a ton of dimensionals on here, and I can see now that I didn't even get all the peelies off. I thought I had them all off. But now the key to putting this on is to getting it kind of more or less up and down straight. We have our glossy black that's going off at an angle, so then this one goes on fairly straight, and I'm just kind of putting it in here so that the top and bottom are about even, and then I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I want her dress to be sort of on the black, because if the dress is too much on the purple, then you don't see the dress as much, so it looks cooler if the dress is contained within the black glossy paper. So that's one that's almost done. We have to put a little spider trinket on it. And then let me grab the other card here. Let me check to make sure I got all the... Nope, I missed one on this one too. Oh no. Oh yes, I did. There were so many to peel. Because again, I want to make sure that all of this stays on here really good. Okay, now this is where the glue smudge is, so I need to make sure that I'm covering that up. And it looks like I am, so that's good. I'll set this in. That looks good. Okay, press it on there, and now we just need to add our cute little spiders. So great card, super simple. Let me show you these spider trinkets. So this is also something that's in this, I think it's called Toil Trouble product suite. But the spiders have a little jump ring on them so that you can add some thread or put it on a ribbon or whatever, and then it can dangle so it looks a little more spidery. However, you can also take those jump rings off, which I did. And I'm actually just putting mine on with a glue dot. Hopefully you can see that. And so let me grab my little spiders and some glue dots. Flip this open, and I'm just gonna put this spider on here. And like I said, I took the jump rings off so we don't have to worry about those anymore, because I didn't really want to mess around putting it on with thread. That's kind of a lot of extra work. Okay, so now I'm going to take my pick-a tool here, and I don't think I want the shovel end. I think I want this poker end. And then what I'm going to do is grab the little spider, And then we're going to set it right over here to the left. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but there's kind of a little thread coming down here. And I purposely cut my paper so that this little spider would sit like he's just, you know, crawling down this little thread. And so I did that with the other one too, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool looking. Got to look for those cute little things that just, you know, make your card just look extra awesome. So there we go. Got the little spider over on this one too. And they're so cute. They are really cute little spiders, I gotta say. All right, so the cards are done. Thank you so much again for joining me. I truly appreciate you. If you would like to order this bundle, be sure you visit my blog at stampingtoshare.com. So there they are. Thank you again. I truly appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.